2.
Been in camp since February, you don't.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the official press conference for the final of the World Boxing Super Series at super middleweight level. Next month, on September the 28th in Jeddah, St. George Groves faces Callum Mundo Smith live on ITV Box Office pay-per-view. At stake, the prestigious Muhammad Ali Trophy, the WBA Super World title, the WBC Diamond Belt, and the legendary Ring Championship belt. To get here, George Groves has defended his world title very impressively with victories over Jamie Cox and Chris Eubank Jr. But now comes his third test against the best of British. Callum Smith has extended his record to a perfect 24 wins out of 24 by beating Eric Skoglund and Nicky Holtzken. They are the World Boxing Super Series top 2 seeds. Only Joe Calzaghe and Andre Ward have held the ring title at 168, so the winner will be in legendary company. On the top table then, George Groves, his trainer Shane McGuigan, Callum Smith, his trainer Joe Gallagher, and first we'll hear from the Camosa Chief Boxing Officer, Kalle Sauerland.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Landmark Hotel London. Welcome to the press conference that kicks off our build-up to the final. We've just seen in Moscow, in front of 24,000 fans, Alexander Usyk lift the first Muhammad Ali Trophy. And on the 28th of November, Friday the 28th of November in Jeddah, we will witness the first super middleweight final. On my left-hand side, I believe we have the best challenger on the planet, the number one across the division in challengers, and someone who has risen over the last years against some very strong names and has obviously progressed throughout the tournament to the final. And in Callum Smith, we have the first finalist. On my right, the man to beat at the moment in the super middleweight division, bar none. Someone who has achieved the dream of all boxers to become champion of the world, having suffered so many setbacks in his career, has proven really what a fighter is all about. George Groves needs no further introduction, but is someone who we're very proud to have in the final, and together with Callum, we believe will create absolute fireworks in Jeddah on Friday, November 28th. It's been a long road. We've certainly had some injury setbacks, but we've got the final we all wanted, the final you all demanded, and the final we will now deliver in a territory which has never seen boxing before at this level. It will be the first time that in this region that such an event will take place. It's a region which is now spoilt for choice in massive sporting events going down there, and we are very proud to be promoting the first ever boxing event in Saudi Arabia. Looking very forward to it, and I'm looking forward to answer your questions in a minute.
Thank you, Kalle. Okay, we'll have a chat first on the top table with the protagonists. George, first of all, after the dramatic victory over Chris Eubank Jr. and the way in which you had to cross the finish line, how's the shoulder, first of all?
Shoulder's good. Shoulder's very good. It's required a lot of work, but it's better than ever now. So Shoulder is very good.
And how do you sum up the way that you had to win that fight? I mean, the last couple of minutes or so, I think maybe time stood still for this man next to me. But in the way that you actually had to win that fight, how do you reflect on things?
Well, you know, I got a lot of experience now. I've been in some big fights, and it was just concentration. That's all that's required, is to stay calm and stick to the plan. The plan worked from the first round onwards. You know, for a spanner in the works in the last round with the shoulder dislocating, but it's new territory there for me, so I wasn't quite sure what the shoulder's capable of, but it made for a lively ending. Gave Chris the only chance maybe to have landed something. He obviously didn't manage it, but I quite enjoyed it. You know, looked good for the pictures. I'm glad that the shoulder definitely popped out, so that, you know, everyone was clear. The commentators, as he run over there, they didn't quite pick it up at the time. Disappointing, but I'll make sure that it don't happen again. So we'll be all right.
And it's exactly 100%. It's where it needs to be. Correct?
I hope so. You know, I'm not a surgeon. The surgeon was a good surgeon. He told me it's back, so it feels back. It feels good. It's bulletproof. You know, it's in terms of it popping out, it should never happen again. It's tougher than ever. It's reinforced. Whether it works or not, it was up to us to get in the gym and make sure it does. And right now, it's firing better than ever. So it's been a long prep for this fight. You know, we've been in the gym since February, rehabilitating the shoulder, also obviously working on everything else. I'm fit. I'm healthy. I've put the work in, so I'm looking forward to now fighting. I'm glad that the date is coming soon. We're only weeks away.
And as we say, it's your third British opponent in a row. Where do you place Callum? How big is this particular challenge now compared to those you've had so far?
In terms of in the tournament, I think it'll be the toughest test yet. But he's nowhere near a step too far. You know, my name's been linked to Callum a long time now. So I've seen him fight numerous times over the years. I feel I'm in the form of my life. I'm boxing better than ever. I don't see Callum posing a problem for me on fight night. Obviously, we've got to be on our A game, but we know how to beat him. We're getting that stuff off in the gym already, and like always, it's just another fight. And if I go out and perform how I know I can, stick to the game plan, it'll be another comfortable win. So far, the tournament's gone to form book. We had 1 and 2 seeds in the final for the cruiserweights, and the number 1 seed came through. And I don't envisage anything different this time around.
Callum, great to see you on top table for a world title fight at last. But George, there a comfortable night he expects.
Yeah, it's his opinion. I'm in a good place and feeling good. Training's going really well, and it's been a long time coming, but like you say, I'm finally sitting here in the press conference for my world title fight, which I feel I've been ready for quite a while now, and like I say, training's going very well, and the fight with George has been talked about for a long time, and it's a fight that I've always liked for myself. It's a fight I've always been confident of winning, and I finally got my chance now to go out and prove that and become a world champion, which I feel more than good enough to do.
For those that might say this is a step, you're going to have to step to another level to compete with George, let alone to beat him, what would you say?
Yeah, I totally agree, and I don't expect anything different. A world title fight, that's when big fighters raise the game. I think George knows that himself. I think his career best performance probably come in his first world title fight, although he didn't get the decision, but I'm expecting the toughest fight in my career, and I'm training for that, and I've always felt that. I've always rose to the occasion, and I feel this fight will be no different.
He's looked very strong in this tournament, as you know, as you have, of course, but what have you got that potentially will cause him problems he hasn't faced yet?
I just feel I'm a better fighter than anyone he's faced previously, especially in this tournament. I think stylistically I'm a lot different to Chris Eubank, I'm a lot different to Jamie Cox, so I just think in terms of his game plan it'll have to be a lot different to beat me, but the same goes vice versa. I think that's what makes this fight so interesting. Whoever gets the game plan right, whoever performs the way they know they can, will come out on top, and I fully believe that'll be me.
You've got some inside information in the form of your brother, Paul, yeah. But maybe not the best information, if you see what I'm getting at. I mean, are we talking about revenge for that night?
Not really, no.
How much does that play into things?
Not at all, to be honest with you. I think that was a long time ago, and me and Paul are completely different fighters. We're not unlike each other, so his win over Paul's got as much relevance as it has any of his other wins. Like I say, we're not unlike each other, and it'd be nice to get revenge, but from a selfish point of view, this fight's about me and about my journey and about me becoming a world champion, and after that, no, that's nothing to do with it, but this fight's about me and my goal and my career.
George, you talked previously in this tournament with the two previous fights about being too strong, naturally too good at this level for your opponents. Do you feel that will still play into this equation with Callum?
Callum's still an unknown quantity at the top level. You know, he's yet to make that final step. You know, so we'll have to find out. We're preparing for it, you know, for the very best Smith possible. But yeah, I mean, we're not fussed either way. You know, for the fans, I hope that it is. So it ends up being a more entertaining fight. But as I say, we've seen enough of Callum that we know what we need to do, and you know, I'm capable of it. So just go out there and get it done. And that's as much as I'm sort of prepared to give away, I suppose.
Absolutely. Joe Gallagher, a very experienced trainer. Just tell us about what you think your man's got. Give us an idea of what is going to maybe change this equation as far as the bookies are concerned.
Well, listen, the bookies have got it right, having George the favourite. I'm a huge fan of George Groves. I just think I don't think, very much like Anthony Crolla, I think he's the boxer's boxer. Everyone likes him, what he's been through to get to where he is now. Mentally strong person, full praise and credit to him. I'm a huge admirer of him. I've enjoyed watching his fights back, studying for Callum Smith. But no, listen, Callum's working on a game plan, just in the same way that Shane will be doing with George, and like I say, on the night, all will be unveiled. The thing with these two fighters, that both have the power, both carry serious power. Callum Smith does, as does George Groves, and I think that's what makes it exciting. One of them only needs the one shot, and I think that's all it may take for this fight. Yeah, it's a good fight. I'm looking forward to it, and like I say, Callum, I know everyone's got to say George's experience, been there many times. Callum's the young kid coming through. Callum's an amateur, travelled all over the world, used to it. I just feel when Callum in his what they call pressure fights up to now, title fights, he's performed. His back's against the wall. There's something within Callum that comes out of him. The Rocky Fielding fight, for example, for the British title, everyone's seen it as a 50-50. Knocked him out and around. Mohammed went distance with 12 rounds with James DeGale, took him out and around. Callum Smith for this tournament, and people don't understand the World Boxing Super Series tournament isn't like your normal fight. It's like a World Cup, it's like a Wimbledon. You don't peak in your first fight, you don't peak in your second fight. You have a game plan and a strategy to get through them fights. Now we're in the final, and this is when I expect Callum Smith to peak and shine, and I'm sure George will as well. I'm looking forward to a really good fight.
Shane, is that the way you've approached it as well, in terms of peaking at the right time, knowing that you've had this 3-fight series ideally?
I think this it's all down to the opposition that you're facing. You know, I feel like George has come off. He's got the momentum with the better opposition. You know, he's had to peak and had to perform well against Eubank. You know, but it was quite comfortable. This is a completely different challenge. It's a different task. It's different style of fighter. But you know, he's the one with the experience, and you know, we're coming off rehabbing that shoulder, which is something he hasn't had to come back from before. I mean, he's had come back from broken jaws or broken hands and stuff, but it's a different sort of thing, rehabbing a joint like that. But with that, it's given him a level of discipline at this stage of his career that has been phenomenal. Just seeing what he's gone through to get his shoulder into the position that it's in is a huge admiration towards George, and I believe it's going to bring out, going through that, I believe it's going to bring him out the best performance. And I think it's going to be as Joe said, they're both dangerous, they both can punch, but I think it's going to be down to experience, and and it's going to be an exciting fight.
Callum, when you see an opponent suffer an injury like that and you know you're going to face him next, does that give you renewed optimism, hope, knowing how serious an injury like that might be?
No, not really. The only panic I had was the night it happened. I kind of was worried that it would keep him out the final, and without George in the final, it takes the world title out the final as well, and that was one of the main incentives for entering the tournament. But I can't base my chances and base my game plan on facing an injured George Groves. I've got to expect fully fit George Groves, and I believe he is. I don't believe he rushed back just to satisfy me or anyone else. I think he's the champion, he's the man in the driving seat, so I do believe he'll be healed, and that's what I want. I want to beat the best in the world and want to become the best in the world, and I believe by beating George I'll do that. Final word before we open the floor. George, who do you think, it was pretty clear in the last fight who the British public favoured. Who do you think the British public will favour this time around?
Me.
Yeah. You or Callum?
It doesn't matter though, does it really?
Well, doesn't it help?
Boxing, I think Boxing Monthly, they asked a panel of experts who was going to win between me and you, Rank, and all those experts got it wrong. All those experts influenced a lot of fans, a lot of casual fans, and we all jumped aboard that hype train, and I've been waiting at the stage for a long time. I've seen a lot of hype trains go past now in my time, so I'm not fussed about favourites and whatnot. I think Callum might have been the favourite before the tournament started, so it doesn't always be the be all end all. If you're going to look at things objectively and be truthful and not bias, and obviously the experience and the momentum, which is even more important, is obviously in my favour, and I think that makes me favourite. It's going to be a big step up, a big night for both of us, but it's a big step up for Callum come the final in Saudi Arabia next month, and may the best man win, but I'm sure it's going to be me.
A last word on that, Callum?
Yeah, the same, and I'm looking forward to it. I think stylistically it can't be anything but a good fight. Joe and Shane both touched on it. We're both heavy-handed. We both earned our place here. We're both up there with the best names in the division. So I think it's a very good fight, and I think the fans should be in for a treat. And I'm looking forward to becoming a world champion, and something that I've worked towards for a very long time.
Just one thing before we go to questions, just to clarify something from let's say the World Boxing Super Series point of view. George has actually been fit since mid-August. It's not down to George that it's the end of September. That is down to us. We've selected the date that we found was the best date to promote this fight. We are aware that there are other events going on in world boxing. We look for the best date, and also the date which takes us into season 2, which begins the week after. Just to clarify that, so George is already fit. It's not a question of that it was down to George that it was the end of September. That was very much down to us, as you've noticed from George's certain social media tweets. He was the impatient one.
Any questions, please? Just wait for the microphone, thanks.
Do you have a specific venue for this, Callum? Is the fight indoors or outdoors yet, do you know?
It's indoors at the King Abdullah Sports Complex, which is a 10,000-seater venue.
A question for both George and Callum. Putting the purses aside, obviously you're both being paid very well to have got to this stage and to win the tournament, but George, are you disappointed that the final isn't going to take place in the UK?
Emotion or disappointment or anything else is what you're trying to detach yourself from that from very early on in your career. We signed a contract. I'm sure that Callum's would have been the same, that we have no say over where the locations for the fights will be. You'd assume that obviously two Brits would fight in the UK would be the most logical place, but it's not. We're going to Saudi Arabia. All it requires is a bit more planning beforehand, but we had an inkling that it might not be in the UK for quite a while, so we've made the right plans. We're ahead of the game, so we're okay.
And Callum?
Yeah, it is what it is. I knew entering the competition that I had no say in where any of the fights was, and I just had to do the fight and do the winning, and all I had to do, as I was told basically, and we heard little rumours that it might not be in the UK, so when it was announced it wasn't a big shock, and like George said, I always envisioned two Brits will fight in Britain, but I can't knock the tournament and their decision. The tournament's been fantastic for me, and it has been for George, and I've got to just do what it is. It's still a fight that I have to go and win and go and do a job, so regardless of where it is, it's a level playing field. We're both having to travel, we're both taken out of our comfort zone, so it is what it is, and it's all just about the fight and the opponent in the other corner for me, regardless of the venue.
I think you could ask the same question to Ali or Fraser or Holmes about certain fights in the past. Yeah, global boxing means we travel, and that means that the finals will take place all over the planet. We don't rule anything out, and that's the thing. It's a tournament. It's a Champions League of boxing. It's the World Boxing Super Series. We're going to a region which every promoter on the planet, and I dare anyone to challenge me on that, every promoter, major promoter on the planet has travelled down to that region to try and stage boxing down there. Some of them have given massive interviews that it's already happened. It hasn't. They've chosen the World Boxing Super Series to present the first event in the region, something that is historical. So I think that George and Callum will have massive fights in the UK. George had one this year already, and there are plenty more in their careers. And then when they're grandfathers and they tell their kids that they had their first ever fight in that region, and they look back, and I don't know what nickname we'll give the event. It won't be the Thriller in Manila or the Rumble in the Jungle, but it will be the first, and they will be the first to have done that. So I think they'll both be thanking us afterwards.
Thank you. Just a final one for me. For both trainers, Shane and Joe, do you think mentally, therefore, it's slightly different with both of them away from home fighting? Joe?
No, I wouldn't say so for George. George has been around the world, fought in Vegas, Badu, Jack. Callum, an amateur, travel around the world. Like I said earlier on this week in an interview, this fight could be on button moon for where the likes of them. They just wanted to fight, get in there. And for Callum Smith especially, he just wants that world title opportunity. And like I said, I agree with Callum to an extent there. When you alluded to there, where the position of the venue is, when you look back at the Thriller in Manila, when Ali fought Frazier, Foreman, Ali in Zaire, people going, they're mad, but look, it stood the test of time. Like I say, hopefully Callum Smith, George Groves fight will stand the test of time in what I think will be a super fight.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like they're fighting someone from that region. They're fighting two English guys out there, so it's not going to benefit either of them to go out there. But it's going to be great, no matter what. It's a new experience. They both boxed as internationals, as amateurs. They've travelled around. They've had to do training camps abroad. George is obviously as a pro. He's boxed out in Vegas. He's boxed about the place as well. So there's nothing different. I don't think it's going to give anyone an added advantage. It's just going to be a new experience.
Let's not also forget there's a massive Brit expat community down there. Massive.
Callie, for those Brits or fans who may want to travel, does buying tickets for a global event such as this, will there be any easing or helping with visa requirements, as there is with some football tournaments? You buy a ticket, it helps smooth the visa process, that serves you as your access into the country. What type of influence will this event have on fans hoping to get visa access to Jeddah?
Yeah, I mean, we just had there was some small football tournament in Russia earlier this year. There was a visa issue there as well, I believe, and we will be supporting them. Fans who want to go, I suggest go via our website. There's plenty of support there. We are expecting fans. Actually, I know both sides have given a hefty list through, and there's a lot of fans who will travel, I'm sure. And look, it's an event that I think is not only the biggest super middleweight fight by far this year. It's also the whole build-up around it. You saw it in Moscow. You know, it was an incredible week, and we're expecting. I've seen what they've planned for the build-up during fight week, and it is absolutely second to none. I mean, it really does look something very special. So it'll be a very special fight week. I know there's a lot of media coming out, which is great, and it's going to be, you know, it's obviously a massive, massive event.
Any questions? Any more? No? Okay, well, just to remind you then, on the line in Jeddah, the Muhammad Ali Trophy, the WBO Super World Championship, the WBC Diamond Belt, and the legendary Ring Championship Belt. The fight, George Groves, Callum Smith, September the 28th, live on ITV Box Office. Go to itvboxoffice.com for details on that. Time now for the head-to-head photos and one-on-one interviews.
Just one thing, please, just before we do that. Promoter has to get the last word in.
Indeed.
Please remember, this is a Friday night fight, not a Saturday night. I'll still get my head round out sometimes, but it is a Friday night fight. So please, please, please put that in all your stories and publications and everything. Friday night fight, 9 p.m. walk-in, sharp. Friday night. Thank you.
Yeah, obviously.
Pictures.
Sure.